how to eat cake and still lose weight. We all know someone who eats whatever they want and stay lean all the time. They may order dessert in a restaurant, they may have chocolate on a regular, and yet they stay lean. And normally we say, oh, they have fast metabolism, which can be partially true. Such people normally are quite active. They burn a lot of calories during the day. It may be not necessarily through sport, but they are quite fidgety and active. Then we may also think that they have a willpower, they're very disciplined and control their eating behavior very well. And this also can be true, but this is more about the fact that they do not self-regulate with food, not because they are a better person, that they're more in control, that they have some virtues and are better than those people who cannot control their weight. No, not at all. This is normally about how their psychology works, how their neurobiology works. In this way, they are lucky. And if you are not lucky with your metabolism and with your neurobiology, does it mean that you need to give up? I've been there. I'm also not super lucky. I have moderate metabolism and I love my food very much, and I tend to self-regulate with food. I used to suffer from that, but I have solved this problem, at least 95%, and I would like to share with you some secrets how you can live with your love for dessert and still have healthy weight. And I will share with you not only my experience but also science, because I'm an evidence-based nutritionist, psychotherapist. I've got a PhD from University of Sheffield. I'm also a personal trainer, used to be. And this is a channel that helps you to get mentally and physically healthy and also lose weight without stress and binging. As usual, in this video I will explain the context and then we'll move to practical part, practical advice. So what's the context? First, you do not have to give up dessert, to give up any bad, quote-unquote, foods. Because you can totally maintain healthy weight, be healthy, while eating some treats every single day. The question is, how much? Of course, we all know influencers who say, oh, I gave up sugar, I quit sugar, now I feel amazing. They do not feel amazing because they cut all the sugar. They feel amazing because they reduced their sugar consumption and they reduced consumption of energy in total, of food in total, of calories. Because when we give up dessert, which is calorie dense, we naturally reduce the amount of calories we eat. For optimal health, you don't have to give up sugar completely. But it definitely needs to be eaten in moderation. Some people say you just need flexible dieting. You just need to count calories, and then if you have cake, just write it down into your calories and try to stick to certain calorie goal every day. This may work for some, and this can be really therapeutic. To understand that an ice cream from McDonald's is only 200 calories and we can easily fit it in our diet, our healthy diet. And yes, some food is calorific, and yes, some food has no nutritional value. And yes, some food even have, oh my god, emulsifiers and gums. But eating such food does not make you bad And eating such food in moderation doesn't ruin your progress. What ruins your progress is food anxiety and being very strict and critical towards yourself. So while calorie counting can be useful, therapeutic, it may not work for many, especially if you already have tense relationships with food, if you already suffer from some type of disordered eating. Counting calories may only increase your food anxiety and food focus. So here, be careful. And then some influencers say, if you stopped restricting, you'll stop craving it. Because restriction causes craving. This even used to be a scientific thought for a while in the previous century. This idea now is refuted because we may not restrict and still crave. And also there was some research where people restricted and started craving less. So do not listen to influencers. Listen to evidence-based people who not just did their research, but who are educated in the area formally. And someone would proudly declare, I gave up sugar, and you should do the same because we don't need sugar, and I've lost 10 kilograms in a week, and I have all this energy, and bloating is reduced, and it's cure it all. In reality, not everyone is ready to give up sugar, and we really need to separate moral qualities and being able to get rid of sugar, to quit sugar. And such miracle effect of quitting sugar is not from quitting sugar, but from reducing calorie intake and reducing sugar intake. Yes, we want to have minimum sugar, but again, minimum sugar and no sugar, there is very big difference in terms of how we feel it, how much pressure we put on ourselves. But the effect is very similar. A little bit of sugar and no sugar. So why suffer if you cannot suffer, if you can avoid suffering? Quitting sugar is not about suffering. This is also very important. It's important to understand that our ultimate goal in relationships with food and healthy living is to not depend on food, to have complete food freedom. And what is food freedom? Here is a piece of cake. I may eat it. I'm allowed. If I eat it, I will not count myself as bad. If I eat it, nothing happens to my health. But if I don't eat it, that's also fine, because my world does not rotate around cake. I can just forget about it. That's food freedom. The key here is that many of us have a long history of dieting, restriction, and we're sort of traumatized by dieting and restricting and dividing food into good and bad and attaching moral value, moral quality to food. And in this case, extremes are bad for you. Trying to restrict and give up sugar completely may fight back. So if you're already inclined to emotional eating, to overeating on sugar, to binging, then restricting may aggravate the situation. But also go all in, as Stephanie Buttermore, I think she's called, going all in and eating whenever I want, whatever I want. I see food, I eat it, also can be detrimental. Because the problem was not in restriction, but why you started restricting in the first place. And normally we start restricting because we gain weight. And why did we gain weight? Normally, it's not just because there was some sugar in our diet. Normally because we've been overeating. Here and there, very often it's stress eating, emotional eating, lack of physical activity. So what I suggest is to gradually introduce dessert into your diet and learn to have it in moderation, have it mindfully, enjoy it, legalize and normalize it. Learn to be calm and emotionally neutral about eating such foods. And here is my practical advice how you can make it happen. These tips are not universal. Some of them will suit one, will not suit others. So your task is to find what works for you, what resonates, what seems helpful. And you can share this in comments. If you feel comfortable sharing, I will be very grateful. So first tip is, indeed, track your intake. Count your calories, see what proportion of calories dessert takes. Maybe you will be surprised to see that some dessert is not as bad as you thought. A little bit of ice cream, a piece of cake. You can have it from time to time without overdoing on calories. Of course, calorie counting is not for everyone. If it triggers you, don't do it. If it increases food anxiety or control or aggravates your relationships with food or yourself or your body, skip this. But if you have more or less healthy body image and relationships with food, this can be a really, really useful tool for you to become aware. And then you may see that indeed you eat 700 calories of cake and it doesn't fill you up, and you would better have something else instead. So it can be very educational, and I like citing here Zohi Lee, who is an influencer. Probably you've heard about her. Her case inspired me to actually believe finally that we gain weight not because we eat bad food, but because we overdo on calories. Of course, this has been scientifically proven for decades, that it's not certain food that makes us fat. It's extra calories in total during the day, the week, that makes us fat and make us fat. And here is her story. She's been getting ready for bikini competitions, bikini bodybuilding competitions, and she's been eating, I think, 15 or 1700 calories a day. This was her plan to shred for the stage. And as an experiment, she ate Snickers bar every single day. So 250 calories per day were coming from Snickers. And she lost weight and won. I hope this is persuasive enough. If science doesn't satisfy you, then this case, I think, is very, very persuasive. Second, move your body. Move your body in accordance to World Health Organization recommendations. Yes, it's a lot of movement, but it's very necessary for our health. And it's not only burn your calories, burn the extra calories you had from that cake. No, it's more about maintaining your health in general and maintaining healthy metabolism. What is healthy metabolism? When your body knows what to do with extra sugar and extra fat. This is when your body is efficient in energy use, efficient in a good way. It's clever. It would burn extra sugars and fat for energy instead of keeping them circulating in blood, for example. Movement increases size of your, especially physical training, increases the amount of your mitochondria and mitochondrial health. And this is also important for healthy metabolism. So If you exercise enough, it's 2 resistance training per week, then either 75 to 150 intense cardio activity, or 150 to 300 hours of lower intensity activity, or the mix of it proportionally. That will be enough. And in this case, of course, you can afford some imperfections in your diet, some dessert. Third one, and the most valuable one, I think. If you take only one thing from this video, it should be it. Only eat dessert in a calm state. Do not try to reduce stress by eating sweets. Do not eat it when you are emotionally unstable, when agitated, hyper-aroused, when a nervous system is activated, when you are stressed. Do not use dessert as tranquilizer. Do not use dessert as an escape from difficult emotions. Calorific, tasty food is very effective in self-soothing. But if you always use only food to calm yourself down, to make yourself feel better, then of course you are going to gain weight. So food can be a coping mechanism, but it should not be one and only coping mechanism. And in my work with clients, I understood that sometimes we have this chronic stress, chronic state of stress, fatigue, trying to escape the reality of life, or procrastination, and then you have to make constant effort to not turn to food. And in this case, it's better not to work on self-regulation and trying to cope with cravings, because cravings are so frequent, but to look at the context of your life and work on improving your state in general, changing your life in general. It doesn't mean you need to put everything upside down. It's more about your attitudes, your relationships with yourself. It's not about revolutionizing your life, but learning to cope with it in a more sustainable way. And then once your baseline emotional state is better, then cravings will be reduced. We skip 4th. Number 5. Plan dessert ahead. Spontaneity is our ultimate goal, but while on this journey of making peace with food and learning to eat cake and stay lean, and if your relationships with food is not very good, then it's better to plan. And if you plan dessert at night, maybe be a little bit more disciplined during the day. Have more protein, have more fiber. It doesn't mean starving yourself all day to allow yourself cake at night. No. It's about just being more intentional with your food choices during the day, so that at night you can have cake. So that, not that you're allowed cake because you've been good all day. No. Please do not misunderstand this. It's just not very balanced if we eat sweet porridge in the morning, or like granola in the morning, then sandwich at lunch, and then cake in the evening. This would be too high in processed carbs, unbalanced, low in protein, low in fiber, too high in sugars. Then of course this is bad. But if you had your protein, your healthy fats, your fiber during the day, then having a cake at night from time to time is okay. And then they say that saving calories during the day, sort of compensating for the night, can be unhealthy. Yes, it can, but it all depends on your goals, on how you treat yourself on the way, how whether it works for you or not. Sometimes indeed it's better not to reduce calories during the day in order to fit cake in and be more intuitive in your eating. Maybe next day you will be less hungry, but compensation does not always mean bulimia. Sometimes it can be healthy regulation of your weight. It all depends on your motives, it all depends on what you think about yourself in the process and other factors. So behavior itself does not determine whether it's healthy or not. It's more what's under this behavior, what's thoughts and emotions. 6, portion control and ritual. Very often we snack on the go. Very often we bite on chocolate while cooking something, for example, or while working, and it all becomes very chaotic and unstructured. Define a portion, cut a piece of cake, or take a couple of cookies from the packet, or get a portion of chocolate and put it on the plate, and pour yourself some tea or coffee and have a couple of mindful minutes enjoying it while putting everything else away from your eyesight. So much better than just biting on autopilot, right? And we're gradually, logically moving into 7. Slow down and savor. Be very mindful when you are eating. And not only dessert, of course, but you may notice that when you have a piece of chocolate, first piece of chocolate can be really good. Second can be still really good. Third, it's not that amazing anymore. There is no magic in this taste anymore. And the fourth piece may actually seem quite sickly sweet. Such mindful, slow eating, noticing flavor, noticing texture, biting, smelling, being in the moment, being with this food, being curious, helps us eat less naturally and increases enjoyment. And our task is to enjoy it to the maximum. Once we're having these bad quote-unquote foods, we need as well to enjoy it as much as we can. And number 7, balance your week, not just your day. Think about diet in a scale of a week, a month, a year, not in a scale of a day. Because very often, if we went wrong in the morning or at lunchtime, we think, oh, we can as well eat everything and anything and start again from tomorrow. But why do we limit ourselves to days? Let's live in weeks and months and years. And you probably have heard of what the hell effect. When we break the diet accidentally, we then say, oh, it's broken anyway, so I will go and eat all the cake I have. But in reality, if one day is heavier, next day you will feel less hunger. You don't have to somehow restrict next day if you overdid it yesterday. It's important not to treat it as punishment, to compensate. It can be healthy to intentionally reduce your calorie consumption next day, to intentionally go for lighter meals. But again, the motive should be to make you feel better, right? Not to punish yourself. Not because I have an anxiety now because I had yesterday chocolate, now I should be starving all day. But because I feel like my digestion is influenced and I feel lower energy today, so I would probably go lighter on my meals today to come back to my optimal state. There is big difference, right? So, final thought. In a perfect world, we do not eat sugar, we do not eat dessert, but we live not in a perfect world. And a really small amount of us are capable of saying no to sugar forever. And it doesn't mean that this amount of people is better than all the rest, 95%. It's just a coincidence. And if you're not lucky with your metabolism or with how your brain works, because some brain can be more inclined to demand more pleasure from food, then you can learn to live with it, to work around it, to work with it and still be healthy and happy and lean and have your cake and also eat it. That's it for today. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Find useful links under this video, and I will see you soon.